On tonight's Cover One Buffalo podcast, we are joined by our favorite, you know him well, our man Connor. But first, our guys, Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how we doing?
I think I'm doing better than most here to start this week, but that's not saying a whole lot, Greg. It's been tough sledding on the internets. But outside of the internets, we got great fall weather here in Western New York. I do want to start real quick the show by saying I hope everybody, I know we have a lot of listeners, a lot of One Pass followers, a lot of people on social media that are in Florida. And if you are, I hope that you are safe and you are safe from some of the stuff going on down there today. Look pretty messy. I know some of the One Pass folks in Discord were talking about it. So if you're watching from Florida, I'm glad that you're safe. And if you were unable to watch yesterday because things got bad, I hope they're going better for you.
Yeah, tonight's show is sponsored by BetUS and powered by the team at BetUS. And I needed that because I am not powered by an awful lot of anything right now. I've been very fortunate. I obviously, you can see I'm traveling again and often, places unknown throughout my business travels. And I needed to be distracted from football because there was not a lot of fun to talk about in football. But unfortunately, as we often know and had a lot of experience with, misery loves company. And to join us on this amazing journey, you guys know him, favorite friend of the show, our man, Connor Rogers. Connor, how we doing, sir? As we joked, it's another Bills Jets week where both teams are coming in unhappy and unsure. But you might have our fans want our coach fired. Your fans were shocked by the fact that your coach was fired. So I don't know who's like happy and who's jealous here. I'm not sure.
It's a great question. It's always good to see you guys. You know how much I love joining you guys. We've done this for literally years now.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how time flies, and not much changes, right? I mean, Bills fans,
sadly,
coach, Jets in complete dysfunction early in the year, and somehow they are playing a game Monday night where the stakes are high,
super high.
Yeah, we're first place is on the line.
First place is on the line. It's insanity. So. Oh man, it's wild. I think, unpacking the Saleh news, it's a weird one, right? Because it definitely was surprising. Nobody could deny that. But we've reached a point with Saleh where, great guy, accomplished defensive coordinator. I think he knows how to scout talent, which isn't always a given for a coach on the defensive side of the ball specifically. And I think just we have years now of them having the same problems over and over again, undisciplined. A new problem this year that shocked me is the lack of energy. That's never been a solid problem. The demeanor on the sideline has been, and then pressers has been horrible. And, obviously, I think the message got a little stale. Now, why I think this happened, and Woody Johnson has never fired a coach midseason. I know a lot of people responded with, oh, this is a classic Woody. Like, Woody has a lot of weird things he does, but he's never fired a coach, not only in season, it's week 5. It's post week 5. So this goes to show you how all in of a year it is for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get any younger. It started off really slow. They're 2-3, a disappointing 2-3. They had to take a risk. That was the only lever they could pull because, we all know not only Nathaniel Hackett is protected by Aaron Rodgers, but the Jets' offensive staff behind him is terrible. Like if you move Hackett out of the play calling duties, is Todd Downing an improvement? I don't know. So the reality is this was the one lever they could pull, and whether people think that's fair or not for Robert Saleh, that's just the way it works in the NFL when you don't have any success in terms of results, and that's where we are. And it's created a really interesting dynamic going into a big game, guys.
Yeah. Now, there's a bit of a weird mix there, right? With Hackett being protected and maybe obviously some of the struggles on offense that fans are able to point to, like, well, hey, the struggles weren't the defensive side of the ball. So why are we getting rid of the defensive minded coach here? And then some of the stuff that my immediate reaction was like, okay, well, is Douglas also on the hot seat here, right? Like you kind of have to marry a coach and GM. I think that's where we've seen teams be successful, is you marry those ideals up. That's what Buffalo was able to do. Other teams have been able to do that. But it sounds like from the comments from Woody Johnson, he's talked about this being the best roster, and you're talking him firing early. This is an all-in year. It doesn't sound like Douglas is on the hot seat at this point. But could you see that changing here throughout the season if this continues to go the wrong way?
Right. So Douglas is in a contract year, which makes it even more fascinating. Not common for a GM to be in a contract year.
Right.
I think
Even
Douglas,
season.
right?
Yeah, they don't even reach the lame duck season usually.
Yeah, right. It's just you kind of either know by then to move on from the guy, or you know by then to extend the guy. And the Jets are in a weird scenario where they are still trying to figure out if Joe Douglas is the guy. And a lot of that was based on the results of the season. I think Douglas gets a pass very often because, he came here with Adam Gase, or was Adam Gase's guy when Gase was already here. Okay, that was never fully the deal. He got to hire his own guy in Saleh. It didn't work. It was not the right hire, unfortunately. He was here to fix Sam Darnold. That didn't work. He drafted Zach Wilson. That didn't work. Now he brings in Aaron Rodgers. Like that. Man,
it's a lot of chances.
You don't get a lot of cracks in this league at GM. You don't. Yeah, at two spots, right? At head coach, quarterback. He's gotten a lot of cracks. So I think there's a lot on the line for him. I don't think it. We all know it. So when it comes down to it, now he's still operating in a situation where he's got to find a way for this team to win. They have to show that this roster he built on a lot of second chances is a serious threat in the AFC. And if it's not, then yeah, why would you continue on with this? I guess the reality is, if anyone's sitting here going, well, why wouldn't you just fire Douglas and Saleh together?
Yeah.
They still think this Rodgers thing has a chance this year and potentially next year. So somebody's got to run the football operations. Like you can't just throw everybody the door during week 6 of the NFL season. So that's why Douglas is still here. But things are absolutely hot. I mean, let's lay out like the multiple scenarios quite simply in a very concise way. The Jets could bottom out the rest of the way, and Rodgers can, be done with this, ride off into the sunset. Douglas is fired. They do a full-blown head coach, GM stapled together search, and they rebuild this thing. The Jets can, let's be real, the AFC right now is wildly underwhelming. The Jets can kind of limp to a 9-win season, be a wild card, maybe win one playoff game or lose the playoff game, and you probably are running this all back next year with some tweaks and a different coach. That's the weird thing with the Jets right now is it's not like they're 5-9 and Ulbrich just has to drag them to the end of the season like interim coaches do. I know everybody keeps pulling up the stat. An interim coach has never made the playoffs. Well, how many interim coaches take over week 6 of the NFL season?
Yeah, and a roster like this too, right?
There's a roster that is not rebuilding. They built this roster to win now, whether they do or not. That was the thought process. So I can't think of a situation like this. It's so bizarre.
It's all staged to bring Belichick back, right?
Yeah, he would love that.
Yeah, right.
So, my side of the ball is on the defense, and I wanted to talk about Ulbrich because obviously I think, if anybody, I think there were some cheesy moments on Hard Knocks that didn't serve Saleh all that well in the grand scheme of things. But I always felt that Ulbrich came off really well, certainly from like a football standpoint and from the rallying standpoint. It's like, oh, that's a dude I'd want to play for. Like that's a guy that has some juice and that is in that spot. And honestly, I think that's probably not that uncommon in the defensive role. That's the guy with that says a lot of F words and is a fun guy to be able to be around. How do you think? So let me rephrase it. How genuine do you think this opportunity is for Jeff Ulbrich? Do you think he is only a placeholder? Do you think there's a Dan Campbell, Antonio Pierce opportunity here? Is this a guy with a legit shake at it?
Well, Woody Johnson is an owner that operates typically off emotion, right? So when you have an owner, and a lot of owners do, but I think on the varying degrees of emotion, he's pretty high up there in the NFL. And with that being said, talk about the scenario I just brought up, or one of the outcomes. If the Jets figure out a way to win 9 or 10 games, make a playoff spot, steal a playoff game, or look competent in a playoff game, and the way the roster is structured, where Rodgers is here next year and a lot of these pieces are here next year, are you going to go get a different coach after Ulbrich just kind of galvanized the team? So that's why, to me, it's whether I kind of live by the slogan of never hire the interim coach. I think it's basically a mistake all the time. And I think the Raiders, unfortunately, are kind of living that right now.
Yeah. Learn the hard way.
Right. You just never do it. But you never hire the interim coach after he coached 3 games, not after he coached 75% of the season. So I think I've been a little disappointed, but I understand the way this league has gone, that Ulbrich hasn't gotten head coaching interviews. I don't even think saying he needed to be hired.
Sure.
This guy, the players love him. He's really bright. He calls the defense. I get it.
It's been a top unit consistently.
Right. They've been a top unit. Like, what does he have to do? At some point, the league is just not hiring these kinds of coaches, these defensive guys. So, and Ulbrich's caught the short end of the stick of that. And when you hear that Kyle Shanahan wanted to poach Ulbrich to run his defense this year, it goes to show you the respect for him league wide. So I hope that it's weird. Even though I believe you should never hire the interim, I'm really rooting for Ulbrich, because there's a world where he doesn't even get this chance despite being deserving of that chance. And we're going to see what he could do. But if there's anything I believe in, I don't know if the Jets offense can be fixed, but I believe in he can galvanize the team from an energy aspect and a respect aspect and an accountability aspect. And Saleh lost that this year somewhere.
So weird. So weird. His phone's got to be blowing up, right? Like we say it all the time. Sean McDermott gets fired. He'll be out of a job.
He'll be unemployed for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And Saleh's not, like, I know the record's not there and the success isn't there, but I think the respect league wide is.
No, I put out a tweet that if I think there should be like a 3-way fist fight between Bobby Slowick, Ben Johnson, and Clint Kubiak. If you can hitch yourself to like, hey, I'm coming as a package with Robert Saleh. Like,
everybody will want you.
I would be fighting those guys to say, hey, you get to bring the new whiz kid offensive mind, but I'm bringing Robert Saleh with me as my defensive coordinator. Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wild.
You're spot on. And this is a guy that he has a lot of really powerful league contacts. You got to realize, like Matt LaFleur and him were in each other's wedding. I don't know. The Packers just hired their DC this year, but he was on all those Niners staff and that coaching tree. You just brought up Slowick. Like, they just branched out all the way down the line.
Shanahan wanted Ulbrich back. What's to say that he won't just bring Saleh back?
Right.
Oh, of course. I think, and this isn't me knowing, but this is me just kind of reading the tea leaves. I think Saleh's really, really burnt out and swallowed up from his time in New York. And I think next year, I agree with you guys. In the offseason, he'll be a defensive coordinator next year. But I know a lot of fan bases are on Twitter like, you got to get Saleh in here this week. No. Man, this guy's been thrown through the wash and spit out. And he's got like 7 kids, by the way.
Your guy, that New York media, you guys are no joke. New York media.
Yeah, not me.
Not you, but I'm saying
that was true. Like I am now because I'm on Jets pre and post. So I kind of am, but I'm never a scrum like, why'd your defense suck today? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, that's not.
But you see the amount, right? Like in Buffalo, we've got a lot of coverage and stuff, but it's nothing, right?
You guys do for us like a smaller but a diehard sports. Buffalo media is pretty intense, though. All things considered.
Yeah.
Well, you have expectations now. That's the problem.
Yeah, correct.
And we don't know how to deal with them.
That's very, very bad. So bad dealing with the expectations.
It's I get it.
Let's dive into the matchup a little bit here. I'll kick things off. Obviously, Quinn Williams has been an absolute monster his entire career. We saw, I think, kind of that real coming out party last year where it wasn't just flashes. It was, consistent play in, play out dominance, being able to be the game wrecker that we thought he was capable of being. And I think he's, it's been really good this year, but is it from afar? Is it maybe not to the level that it was last year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's weird, right? Because he's still that great player, but it feels like what teams have been able to do to him this year is clearly now limiting him, where Quinn Williams is a great player. Is he a player that can just he's so good that double teams unfaze him, or he's not phased by double. Like, he hasn't been that kind of guy because of the structure of the front. Just to briefly run through it, if Bills fans don't know, John Franklin Myers out the door, right? Bryce Huff out the door. Hassan Reddick brought in, never plays for the team. Jermaine Johnson tears his Achilles right in the beginning of the season, who often plays next to Quinn and takes on so much of the dirty work next to him. Quentin Jefferson, another D tackle they had last year that had 6 sacks. He leaves in free agency. Al Woods was a nose tackle they had last year. He tore his Achilles last year. So they bring in Javon Kinlaw, who's fine. And then, guys, besides Will McDonald, who's having a breakout year, they got nothing. They really got nothing. It's Quinnen Williams. It's Javon Kinlaw, who's okay. And Will McDonald, who's a pass rush specialist having a breakout year, not a 3-down defender by any means. I want to make that clear. I mean, you got Solomon Thomas playing multiple positions on the defensive line. You have Michael Clemens, who was a special teams guy, now playing a ton of snaps and not playing them well at all. He's a liability out there. They signed Lucky Fotu in the offseason to be a 2-gapping defensive tackle. He's still dealing with the hamstring. He hasn't played this year. They're so thin. And you pay Quinnen $25 million a year to just, wreck the game no matter what. But if you're the opposition, you're like, yeah, I'm going to throw 3 bodies at Quinnen and say somebody else beat me. And reality is, besides Will McDonald, nobody else can beat them. So it's no excuses. It hasn't been as good of a Quinnen season as we expect from him. But man, the Jets also did this to themselves with how thin this front is right now.
So talk a little bit about Will McDonald, because, it was, I don't want to say that there were, he was a bust or anything last year.
There was allegations.
There were, some rumors, speculation being thrown around. And obviously the transition, the kind of the leaner build and like, hey, did we overreach on this? Because obviously there was that, the rumors of that panic of what do we do now because Belichick let the Steelers trade up for the tackle we wanted. Oh, who are we going to take? And then, I would say most you do tons of awesome draft work. Did you have McDonald as a top 16 guy on your board?
I think I had him 27th that year.
So not an egregious.
I'm sure consensus was probably a little even after that. I thought I was a hair higher than consensus.
Yeah, 30 to 40. I think a lot of people had late first.
It was early. Like we can sit here and confidently say the Jets took him early.
So you combine an early pick, some people think a reach and then a slow start. And what's the recipe? Oh, bust. This isn't going to work out. And, I fell for it myself. So now all of a sudden you open up and all right, well, that was just a matchup thing, 3 sacks, whatever it was. Like, all right, that was just like him taking advantage of a backup tackle, bad matchup. Okay. And then the next game. And he's got 7 now?
I think he's got 6.5 sacks.
Yeah.
He's got 6 sacks. Yeah.
Yeah. At some point here, I just have to acknowledge they're like, oh, he's apparently a pass rusher. This is real. And he's having himself a hell of a season.
What impresses me the most is that the Jets haven't been great this year, where the whole idea with Will McDonald is that he's teeing off when they're leading games in the second half. The Jets don't play in that kind of script very often. So his true pass rush opportunities are not through the roof, sky high. Like the thought of that pick was, if Bryce Huff leaves in free agency or somebody gets hurt, we have 3 rushers that we're going to rotate. And this is 2 years ago. We have Aaron Rodgers, so we're going to be winning a lot of our games. We need guys that can get off the ball and get after it. Aaron Rodgers didn't play last year. The Jets are not leading a lot of games. And then this year, they haven't been very good, so they haven't been leading a lot of games. But Will McDonald is finding his way. And the interesting thing is it's really without a guy across from him right now. It's just him. So yeah, I'm not saying he's an all-pro or a top 10 edge in football, but he is a viable NFL pass rusher that in year 2 might have double-digit sacks. And by the way, is the all-time Big 12 leader in sacks. Like maybe the guy just knows how to get after the quarterback at some point.
So in the back 7 here, it really comes down to health and, who's going to be in this game. So between CJ Mosley, Michael Carter, Sauce Gardner, 3 guys really critical to the capabilities of what this defense is. Not, there's, DJ Reed's played really well when he need to step in that one role and a stud as a number 2, but huge difference if you're not going to have Sauce at his peak. And then at the nickel, Carter hasn't been, at the, elite level. And now if he's out, you're talking about going down another level from there. And then obviously Mosley already missing time. Where is the expectation with those three and whether we're going to see him on Monday?
Yeah, so this unit is scrapping and fighting, but it's been so Carter came out of summer with an ankle. And basically my understanding of it, or what I can once again read through the tea leaves, is number one, he's a tough guy. He won't sit. But imagine being a nickel corner playing on an injured ankle all year. It just doesn't seem like he's ever going to get time to rest it. So Carter is legitimately hampered right now, just playing on it. Reed's been phenomenal. Reed has been one of the better corners in the conference and 50 times better than Sauce this year. I mean, it's not even close. Sauce is, I don't know what's going on with Sauce, and it's not just, I see he got called for a lot of penalties against Justin Jefferson. And it's funny.
It's too much golf. I know.
The golf accusations are going to hit really hard.
They're coming.
They are coming. So with Sauce, it's almost like all the calls that they never called on him in the past are now overcorrecting. But besides that, though, I think Sauce has been a liability in the run game. He's still not, he could have had a tipped interception against the Vikings that would have flipped the game. It just feels like everything that could go bad for Sauce through 5 games has gone bad for Sauce. And to be fair, he was lights out, I think, in 2 of the 5 games. But it's Sauce Gardner. You don't expect Sauce Gardner to be not great for 3 of the 5 games, honestly. So DJ Reed's been phenomenal. Sauce has not played like himself at all. And if that doesn't turn around, the Jets are going to be in trouble because they're going to see a lot of top number 1 wide receivers. Although it's interesting to say that. They play the Bills, the Steelers. Nico Collins is going to miss the Jets game now, but still see Stefon Diggs, who he's had a lot of battles with over the years.
Yeah, Tank Dell.
Tank Dell, right? If they can get him going in that offense. So, yeah, that's the story with the Jets right now, is a guy that's one of the top slots in the NFL is playing on a bad ankle, so he's kind of average right now. Sauce hasn't been good, and DJ Reed's been phenomenal. And when you say that to someone, it's like, wow, that's just very weird to hear that. And they're just okay at safety where, listen, teams aren't throwing on the Jets at will. Like Sam Darnold had no answers in the second half, but I think our expectations are still much higher than what we've seen from this group.
Yeah. And I mean, let's flip it over to the other side of the ball, though, because I think Jets defense is maybe not meeting expectations, but it's closer than this side of the ball on the offense, right? We're looking at the 23rd overall DVOA defense, 23rd pass offense, and 31st run offense. And that's really the one that I want to talk to you here to start is this rushing offense, right? I'm a huge fan of Breece Hall. I'm a huge fan of Braylon Allen. The last couple drafts, when you're taking those guys, those are draft crushes of mine. I actually like the way Douglas has assembled this offensive line. I think it's one of the better units that the Jets have had. It's not translating. They're 30th in adjusted line yards. They're 26th in power rush success. They're 30th in run stuff percentage, and 31st in running back yards. So they are it's not just the line, it's the running backs also. Talk to me, Connor, break this and make this make sense, because this should be a train with that defense and a good rushing attack. That's the recipe in the league right now. That's hard to stop, but you're not getting it going. What's going on?
That's right. Everybody's wondering, how does this offensive line on paper not able to run the football with Breece Hall behind them? There's a lot to unpack with this one. And it's not as simple as one thing, but I'll go through them individually.
Sure.
One, they've looked a lot different since Morgan Moses went down with the knee injury. And it's weird, right? You look at an offensive line with Tyron Smith, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera-Tucker, and Morgan Moses. You wouldn't pick Morgan Moses as the guy that goes down and the identity changes, but it has. He just brings something different to their run game, especially next to Vera-Tucker. And since he's gone down, they've lost that edge. But that's not the only reason. That's one thing. And I wonder if Moses might play Monday. Sounds like Moses is a psycho, man. He played with a half-torn pec last year for the Ravens. He's one of the toughest guys in the NFL the last 10 years. So we'll see if he tries to play. And the funny thing is, Fashanu wasn't bad starting at right tackle. He just isn't the run-blocking presence Moses is. Yeah. So, and Fashanu's not a right tackle. It's one of those exercises as well. So that's been one problem. 2, and this is the biggest thing to me, they are so damn predictable when they are going to run the ball. And it doesn't matter if you have 5 of Hall of Fame offensive linemen out there. When the opposition knows you are going to run the ball, they run blitz the hell out of the New York Jets, where 5 guys can only block so many people, right? And then the Jets their predictability in the run game, they started to play a little heavier personnel. Their tight ends can't block.
I was going to say 12 personnel numbers look pretty terrible.
They've been dreadful.
Yeah.
Dreadful. They can't block. So it's almost like their counterpunch to, well, teams know when we're going to run, so we got to help out our 5. We're going to play heavier, but our tight ends make us worse when teams load up the box. So it's been a Hackett disaster class in terms of the run. And then back to the predictability, they are just the kings of run, pass, to the point where I couldn't see it trying to read lips, but it looked like Rodgers. The Jets came out of the half against Minnesota. They get a 3-and-out, the defense. They punt to the Jets. Now you see the Sam Darnold of old just coming out. Like the Minnesota all of a sudden went from 100 miles an hour.
Hey, we know that guy.
They don't have an answer in this game. Aaron Jones doesn't come out of halftime. It's like, oh man, Minnesota's going to go in the tank here.
Yeah.
And the Jets get the ball right away after the 3-and-out, and they go run, pass. And it looked like Rodgers was yelling in the comms or something like, something along the lines of like, why did we just do that? So they're so damn predictable of when they're going to run the ball. And it's ironic. The guy that actually is effective, even when you know it's coming, is Braylon Allen, because he just runs through your face for 6 yards.
Mm-hmm.
With Breece, it's cost Breece his confidence. Now when they're blocking it up for Breece, he's second guessing. He's not hitting the hole. He doesn't look like he has his balance. He was banged up all the way back in OTAs, and he doesn't look like Breece Hall right now. I'm not blaming an injury, but he just physically he doesn't look like Breece Hall. Mentally, it's not there.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on with Breece, and the fact is the Jets' run game isn't good enough that they can just say, okay, 70% or 80% of Breece Hall, we're fine. It's not. So their run problems are very, very expanded. It's layered problems to me.
And it sounds like it bleeds into the passing game here when you're talking about the predictability that also bleeds into the passing game. And that's kind of where I want to go next here is the target spread of this offense does not appear to be. This seems back like Rodgers would have a lot of success with Devontae Adams, but it was so Devontae Adams centric that you'd get into certain games where teams could take that away. And watching it and seeing it, it feels sort of that way with Garrett Wilson, that it's really forced to Garrett Wilson. And then you got a little bit to Lazard, and there's not much else on there. Is that a lack of Douglas giving the depth in pass catchers, or is it Rodgers finds a guy, he locks onto that guy? And then kind of in that, you talked about that run game and Rodgers' frustration. How much say does Aaron Rodgers, a veteran Hall of Fame quarterback with the hand-picked OC, have in this offense? If they're so predictable, can he do something, get them out of it, and get them out of those kinds of plays?
He has full authority at the line of scrimmage, it appears, to change things. So that's where them not playing in the preseason and him not playing football last year has cost this team. This team looks like they're in week 2 of the preseason on offense, where there's wrong timing in routes. There's missed throw. The thing that annoys me is everybody keeps going, Garrett Wilson needs to get down the timing of Aaron Rodgers. No, like Rodgers missed him last week a lot. He missed him. That's not timing. He just missed the throws. So they've had timing problems. They've had accuracy problems. And Garrett was really good last week. I mean, Garrett easily could have had 180 and 2 touchdowns, not 101 and a touchdown. So Lazard will make one great play and then drop the next 3. It's where everybody loves to go like, well, what is Devontae Adams going to do for this team? Well, he's going to catch the ball. And right now, outside of Garrett Wilson, people don't catch the ball. And I get it. Like, it's weird to sink more assets into a team that's having problems. But Lazard had, I thought, 4 drops last week. I saw PFF logged it with 3. And they're back-breaking drops, guys. Like, drops that you got to have these.
We had some,
and I was going to say, I know you feel my pain right now because the Bills at wide receiver have had, Shakir goes out, and it's like, man, we need someone reliable out here when he's out. Yeah. That's the Jets right now. Garrett Wilson is still Garrett Wilson, but after that, you feel like you're just flipping a coin each throw, and it's just not good enough.
So which one of us is getting Devontae Adams?
You know what? To me, if I'm the Bills, how are you not all in on this right now? Doesn't he make the Bills so much better?
I think it's a money thing.
It's
managing that.
It's Mark Davis. It's not us. Like I think we'd be willing. I think there's enough
overcompensate for the money.
I don't think there's as much panic in the fan base, obviously, in the front office, but there's enough little, whispers of doubt that I kind of think Bean might overpay in that sense to like, hey, screw it. We'll pay you the extra draft compensation if you eat the money. But asking Mark Davis to eat $14 million,
It's not happening.
like, so the only one that was funnier is somebody tried to tell me T. Higgins, and I was like, if Mark Davis and Mike Brown went out to dinner and they had to like see who would reach for the check,
restaurant
they
would
both
close.
die first.
I've
They
been a
would
waiter.
both-
I know what that feeling is like.
Yeah.
You get stiff.
Yeah, they would both die before one of them reached for the check. So we'll see. I'm not going to completely give out hope, but
It's
I'm
interesting. He makes a lot of sense for the Bills. I know people don't agree with this. He makes a lot of sense for the Jets right now. They need him.
Yeah.
Like they are really in bad shape outside of Garrett Wilson, and he makes a hell of a lot of sense for the Chiefs and the Ravens too. But I don't see it happening for any of those teams.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes. All right, before we get you out of here, you know the drill. Our friends at BetUS have the numbers up here for us. They have the Jets as a 1.5 point underdog here. They got the Bills at -1.5. Being able to go in there and take care of business to try to figure out what's going on. What do you expect to see in this matchup on Monday night?
Oh man, well the Jets are going to come out with energy, right? The interim coach, Spark, Ulbrich. It's Monday night. It's at MetLife. MetLife will be jammed. These teams are weird, man. I want to ask you guys before I make this pick is like if the Bills lose this game, does the MetLife House of Horrors start for Josh Allen? Because he's a totally different player against them in Buffalo than what he is at MetLife against them. It's at the point where it's bizarre.
I hadn't thought about it, but thanks. Now I'm not going to sleep the rest of the week. I appreciate that.
Well, he's due for a huge bounce back game. If
we do.
Feel better.
We've definitely mentioned that there is no team that is Josh Allen proof except for the Jets. Like there are no. It doesn't matter what you throw at him. He's lost games, but it hasn't been because you figured out Josh Allen. It's been because you outscored him. There's been other things that have come up. There's been moments where he's had the backbreaking interception or something like that, but not in total games. The only one that has in any consistency like solved Josh Allen is this Jets defense. Like his numbers against them, again, at home, he's had some bigger moments, but some of those have also come at points in the season where the Jets season is kind of done and you get that snowball effect where the Bills defense gets, insert Jets quarterback of the moment, rolling the wrong direction.
Navalano
and all of a sudden,
breaking Mike White in half.
Yeah, whatever it may be. You get that, and then Josh just kind of feeds on that, and he's still put up some good stat lines. But there is no defense that has given Josh a harder time than this Jets defense.
And not only that, this year particularly, Connor, I'm sure you've looked it up and seen it. Like Bills against cover 1 and cover 3.
I did see this today.
Yeah, dude, it's
not
good.
been able to beat man defense,
and that plays right into what we're walking into.
They took the Jags to the woodshed, but everybody else has not been able to get it beat.
Yeah, the Tyson Campbell-less Jags have been helping teams put up historic numbers.
Correct.
So with this game, it's a weird one, right? Because I feel like the last 2 years I've been on with you guys, I've picked these teams to split, and they have in weird ways, in really weird ways.
Right.
If the Jets didn't fire Saleh, I might be taking the Bills competently because the energy has been so bad. And I think this Bills offense is built better against this Jets defense than it has been in the past. I think James Cook will be able to run the ball. I think the Bills will be able to run the ball. If they don't big play Hunt, I think they'll be fine. I don't trust their pass catchers against the Jets secondary, but that might not matter if it's just a James Cook game. I do think the Jets get a little boost from Ulbrich here, and I think they could scratch out a very, very close win. But I think this is a third year in a row where these teams could split again, right? And the Bills take care of their business for the most part against teams they're supposed to, and the Jets have not right now. So if the Jets win, like I think they can because they're getting this shot in the arm right now, I don't think it's one of those situations where they just run away with the AFC East. I picked the Bills. I got smoked for this online. I picked the Bills to win the division before the year with SMY, and I got eviscerated. And it's not like something I feel good about right now where I'm like, see, I told you the Jets coaching's not good.
Yeah.
Like, I still have the Jets to make a wild card. So this is a coin flip game. Obviously, BetUS right there is telling you it's a coin flip game. I'm going to go with the Ulbrich shot in the arm, but I just think this is classic Jets-Bills. They go 1-1 against each other again this year.
Yeah, we've had some not even that pretty of battles. We've had some pretty ugly games in the past while here. It's been weird. If you guys like Connor's pick there, make sure to check out the guys at BetUS. Use promo code YouTube150. You get up to $2,000 back on your deposits. You get 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your second and third deposit. Fast payout, super easy to use interface. Make sure to check them out again. Promo code YouTube150. All right, Connor, you are a busy man, a man about the town. We were talking about Francisco Lindor grand slams before the game. What's the next thing the fans can see from you?
Well, we got fantasy football happy hour rocking and rolling every single day. You can watch it on Peacock, NBC's YouTube. We're steady rocking. It's a good thing for this pod. We're not there yet with these teams, but if you love the NFL draft, I do a podcast with Trevor Sikkema called NFL Stock Exchange.
We love Trevor.
We take on like all the NFL orphan fans, we're pulling the Panther fans
as they are eliminated. Everyone gets eliminated.
It's just like Panthers, Raiders.
During the drought, we'd come over around November, Thanksgiving. We'd be.
I started doing the draft for how long the Jets were terrible. So it's you know the feeling. It's good that you guys have long graduated from that. But yeah, if you like the draft or just like following prospects, we got you covered on the NFL Stock Exchange as well. I
might have to screenshot my, we have a Cover One Dynasty Fantasy League. I might need to get some advice from you. Greg has been kind of robbing people on these trades and stuff. I might need some advice.
I can't help people hit accept. It's not
yeah, it's their choice. They're undoing.
That's right.
Yeah, they're grown adults. All right, Connor, appreciate you as always. Always a great time. We have some fun and go enjoy a Mets division rounds series victory.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, man.
Talk to you soon. All right. Always a favorite. Connor's a show favorite for us and great. And seeing him.
He's too big for us.
Yeah. I mean, you guys talk about when he's talking about doing, the fantasy happy hours. He hosts a show with Matthew Berry every day.
We're just dummies. What is he doing?
Yeah. We're his charity. We appreciate it.
That's it.
But always appreciate it. He is loyal to us and comes back every year to be able to jump on with us again. He's fantastic. I wish I could say that he's crazy and wrong, but again, I'll bring up our friends from BetUS here. It's the spread for a reason. I want to say that we're way better than the Jets, but we just have different dysfunction. We just have different challenges and issues. I don't know. I would love to have greater confidence in what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more confident than the line is, and that concerns me because Vegas is more correct than I am.
They always know more than we do.
Yeah, and there's for sure some probably homer bias baked into for me and my score prediction for this, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I've got some wish casting in mind.
Yeah, sure. I feel confident in that. This team just got punched in the face twice. They know how much they need this win. Yes. The lack of confidence is coming from the injury report here on Wednesday, although it's not a traditional Wednesday because we're playing Monday night. So we're used to that Wednesday being a real important one. Tomorrow, Thursday's injury report is probably going to be the more indicating of where these guys are trending. Some of these guys could have just had, hey, it's Wednesday and we have a long week. Let's give them some additional rest here. But tomorrow I'm going to be locked in as to when practices happen to see who is and isn't playing, because that could change really everything here with these lines for me.
So I'll put you on the spot here. We saw a couple little clips from our man Sal Capaccio, shared some video clips. We saw the breakdown from our guy, Kyle Trimble, going through the injury report. We'll start with our number one guy, and you're the president of the fan club. Is Khalil Shakir going to be here to help this night?
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't see much of the clips of guys going.
So just for anybody who didn't, I'll give a breakdown. They had Curtis Samuel and James Cook were only on the exercise bikes.
Right.
So when we see DNP and they're just on the bike, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just means, we didn't see them progress to anything else. Khalil Shakir had the workout vest thing on that looks like a sports bra.
I think it's a measuring tool. They measure
it's the tracking It's the GPS tracking thing, and they do all the different stuff. But he had that on and was doing like the saddle step side to side stuff and doing some individual drills and working and moving. And everybody, Kyle included, and a lot of the beat guys reported that as traditionally a positive sign. If that is your, and again, this is like a Tuesday, that's normally a positive sign as some availability. And I guess maybe if we're gonna lean into that being good, it means it's probably not great for James Cook. Wasn't doing those things. So let's say that's the case. And for our friends at William Mattar Law Offices, and we're deciding who's here to help. If we have Khalil Shakir here to help, but we need maybe the Ray Davis game, are we ready for that on Monday night?
I think so. This is something I was talking to David Tilton about a little bit offline. I don't think the Jets' run defense is very good. And maybe they get a bump here from...
It's a one-man show. It's Quinn and Williams. If you get Quinn and Williams blocked, you can run.
I like Quincy, too, and as a linebacker. He can break up some plays, but he's very aggressive. You can also catch him on some, too.
He's got a lot of Dorian Williams. He's just a more developed version of Dorian Williams.
Yep. And so I actually think Ty Johnson could be like... I love James Cook, and I've been pounding the table that I actually think this Buffalo Bills offense operates its best when it's flowing through James Cook right now. I don't know that that's going to be the truth into the future, but right now I think it operates its smoothest for both the passing game.
He's their best weapon right now.
He's a great weapon. It seems the easiest. Their easiest drives have been the balanced drives with a lot of James Cook running. And so I obviously would prefer if he's out there. But in this particular matchup, I do think that you would be able to have a efficient and effective running game with Ty Johnson and Ray Davis against this defense. And if I had to pick, I'm only getting one of these guys back because what we saw and the inability to separate and create that space. And we know it's man and a lot of cover 3. Khalil Shakir is way more important than even knuckleheads like me who have been pounding the table to get him the ball. I think he proved here in his absence that he's way more important to the success of this passing game than we maybe realized. And I might need to hear to help from you soon on when is it time to extend Mr. Shakir, and how can we get a deal now before it really blows up? Because he's only creating more value for himself. His absence was the best case if I'm his agent.
Oh yeah. Oh, his agent, when they go to negotiating time, he's just going to pass them that Texans tape and be like, "Yeah, you remember what it was like without Khalil?"
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's hard because so much of his statistical breakdown to this point has been efficiency, but super low production, and that normally doesn't get paid at a really high level. But like you said, what does the rest of the season look like? What does he turn that into? He easily, I want to say that he's more in that Jacoby Myers area of 3 years, 36 million and a $12 million guy. But if he has a really big season the rest of this year, he could easily get to the point where I don't think it becomes an issue, but it could become where his agent doesn't have an awful lot of reason to.
Could it be like a Christian Kirk out of nowhere?
Well, and that's what they would point at is that, hey, we don't need to sign early. We don't need to sign ahead of time. We'll play out his final year and take it to the market because that's what Christian Kirk did. And he got $18 million a year. And, right now I'm certainly not ready to give our man Khalil. I love Khalil Shakir. I'm not ready to give him $18 million. But I won't lie. He showed an incredible amount of value in his absence last week. And I think his absence showed more of the reason we might need to make a move or bring someone in.
Lack of depth.
It more so than he is this priority superstar, but he's also shown that he is a very important part of this offense and someone that we need and someone who, regardless of what number we come to, and for anybody who isn't aware, we debate these things in the Cover One Pass Discord all the time. We've got some really sharp people in there. This is something where people would debate how far into the double digits we would need to go. Yeah. No one is going to argue that he isn't going to get paid. He's going to get paid. And everyone's going, oh man, I'd love it if we could get him at 11, 12, 13 million dollars and not have to go 15, 16, 18 million dollars. No one is going to argue that you don't want to re-sign him. No one is going to argue that he's not going to get paid on the market. It's just a matter of, can we get a good deal rather than feeling like we're paying, excessive, crazy numbers, which, honestly, we just kind of saw that with Spencer Brown. We messed around. We waited, and we had to pay a healthy amount of money. He got $18 million. It's the risk. It's probably what we're at the borderline of finding out with Gregory Rousseau.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
I hope he earns more money here in the next few weeks. And I think
again, that's the best case scenario. Yeah, the best case scenario is a guy who
can't afford him.
That plays so well that we're worried about whether we can afford him, and that we feel like we're paying a ton of money, but it's because he's playing really, really well. And, again, I know Spencer Brown wasn't perfect this last game, but he's also played really well this year. So he's earning plenty of that money. He was, elite the first 3 games. He had the most pass rush snaps without a single pressure of anybody in the league. So obviously we've shown if we can get our offense going back the right direction, he's well worth it too. Hopefully Khalil Shakir is in the same boat. And we're arguing about whether we paid a little bit too much for this great player.
Yeah.
All right. So again, make sure, our friends, William Mattar Law Offices, they have been awesome. You got to hang out with Bill in the suite. They've been fantastic sponsors. We love the team over at William Mattar and be able to have a good time with them. But let's get down to it. Let's flip it back. We got to be able to figure out what our prediction is. I'll bring it up one more time. Our friends over at BetUS, again, use promo code YouTube150. Get yourself a little extra money on your deposits. What are you picking for your score prediction for this week?
Yeah, I got this one. Actually, I think it's the same identical score as the Jets just got out of. It was 23-17 against the Vikings. And I actually see it kind of being a similar game for the Jets. I think that the Bills are going to be able to maybe get off to an early lead, get some run game going. I think the Jets tried to claw back. Until I see this offense develop a run game, and maybe Buffalo's the team to do it against. I don't know. We've seen, obviously the Ravens had some success. I don't think they present the same issues that the Ravens do in the run game, but I'm nervous to count Breece Hall out, even after hearing from Connor that he's, not looking the same this year. I've seen what he can do. I've seen what Braylon Allen can do at the college level, and showing it here a little bit. So this could be the game they get right, but until I see them get right in that run game, I think that trickles into what we're seeing from the past game. And Connor talked about that kind of predictability. I don't think you can do that with the defensive coordinator like Sean McDermott. And even though the names aren't there on defense, I think the defense is playing well. They might give up some points and stuff early on, but I think they'll settle into this game. I don't think Nate Hackett's going to throw anything at Sean McDermott that is going to throw him off too much, or that we're not going to see no adjustments. I think we'll win that matchup. Because of that, I don't see the Jets being able to score over 20 against this team. If they do, I think it's going to be through some defensive touchdowns, some bad plays by the Bills beating themselves. And I don't think Josh Allen can have multiple of those games back to back here. He's too good of a player. He's too much of that. I hate the word alpha, but he's that kind of guy. If he throws out a couple of those games back to back, we might have a bigger problem on our hands here in Buffalo than we are willing to have that conversation. So let's hope it doesn't go that way. But I got 23-17 Bills getting out of there. Maybe it's a couple of nice big Tyler Bass kicks to keep that confidence meter going up, because that guy kind of swept under the rug last week with losing that game. Was he actually kicked pretty confident? I'd like to see some more of that.
So you touched on a couple of my notes. I think this is going to be the Tyler Bass game. I've got 4 Tyler Bass field goals.
Yeah.
I've got Connor also touched on one that I had in my prediction in the game manager, Josh Allen, because that's what we saw those first 3 weeks is he wasn't going down the field. He was taking what the defense was giving. He was being conservative and willing to just take what was there and move your way down the field. Don't feel forced. Don't feel pressured. Just take what's there and matriculate your way down the field. And then yards after catch was what was making the big plays, not taking shots down the field. I've got it 26-20. I've got 4 field goals. Both teams score 2 touchdowns. The Bills get 4 field goals. The Jets get 2, 26-20. I think that they will have enough here. I do think that they come out with some energy. I won't be shocked if the Jets are winning the first half, and the Bills need to come back and take it in the second half. I think that that's certainly possible. We could see, maybe something like 17-13 at halftime, and then we really lock down. They kind of crest. You know how that happens when you come out with too much adrenaline. It happens a lot with teams in the Super Bowl or really big games that come out with a huge burst.
It happens to me every time I get excited about anything.
The adrenaline wears off, and you get it crests and it comes down. I think it could really, that first big energy boost they get from this new coach, I don't know if it could sustain through the game. And I think the Bills could really take control in the second half and be able to go forward from there. And so I think they were both right there in the same spot and make sure that, we're in a good position to right the ship. It might not be pretty. It might not be a blowout. It might not be some amazing game. But I think they're going to be able to do enough to get the W and get back on the right track.
I hope so, man. I said it was like right after the game. I was a little emotional fan mode there, but I tweeted out that it's like as close as I think. We've talked about it a number of times when Bills back themselves into a bit of a corner and you're in must-win games earlier than really are must-win games. This is like borderline right there, right? Like for me, this team, as long as they can stay 2 games up on this division,
and it would actually be 2.5 because they'd have a game in hand on the road in both New York and in Miami.
Yes.
So they would have a 2-game lead with the tiebreaker. So basically 2.5 games with only a home game each against those two teams.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful edge.
I think you've got to.
So
I think you got to
take advantage.
Got to get it and then keep it and roll that. And then I don't really necessarily care how you're playing and how it looks until we get past Christmas. Like, as long as people aren't getting injured, we're not losing big thing. Like it can be a little clunky. It can be mistakes being made. Get these wins, these important ones. You've lost 2 AFC games here back to back. That was really painful for the tiebreaker. I don't need the 1 seed. You got to win your division. So keep that 2-game cushion, keep a length on that. And then let's figure it out and play some really great football post Christmas going into January. And maybe you got a chance. Like, that's really the path for this Bills team, but it starts here this week. You can't let a team like this hang in the division. That's just dumb. Take care of business.
Yeah. You get healthy, you get guys back. It gives you time to incorporate Amari Cooper into the offense. It really works out and nets everything out cleanly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Buda Baker,
guys.
We'll get Buda Baker.
Yeah, but both, Micah Hyde, Matt Milano, everybody.
All of it.
As Dano here says, hit that like button, help us out. It's the greatest way to spread the word. We know it's been tough here. We're going to get back on the right track. It's going to be a lot of fun. Aaron and I will be here with you on Monday night, late and ready to talk about hopefully a Bills W. But on behalf of our fantastic guest, Connor Rogers, our awesome producer, Chris Kepner, and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You have been joined tonight's show on behalf of our sponsors, BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. They ask for you to please gamble responsibly. Make sure to check out all the great work by our friends at William Mattar Law Offices. And on behalf of the entire team here at Cover One, we are out.